Hey, how you doing? It's Trader Joe's. We got Charlie here. He's making all kinds of noises. Hopefully he doesn't interfere with the video. I was tagged by Udo to regarding which three knives would I bring into battle. And I've been thinking about this for several days, and it's kind of complicated because there's a number of variables that could affect which knife you may choose to bring. But I'm going to go over a couple different things that I'm thinking about. And initially, my first reaction was to say, get something really big, right? Something that gives you a lot of reach so that you could, you don't get as close to your enemy. So you want distance away from your enemy, right? This way, obviously, they're more tempted to stay outside the range of this, so that gives you more space to be safe, protect yourself in. This also has a lot of heft to it. And, so that gives you the ability to chop into them, injure them. It's got a little bit of a point to it, so you could stab them with it or get them on the backswing a little bit. But the disadvantage to this particular thing is that if their knife is coming along the edge down towards your hand, there's nothing to protect your hand at all. So their knife could go along that edge and just go right into your fingers, and you're going to go, and you're going to drop it. And then now you're going to be unarmed. So my second instinct is to think, all right, I want something that's going to protect my hand. So I'm thinking, I need something with a little bit of something to stop their edge from coming down any further than that. And depending upon what I have available. My second choice was something like this. This is an Icon knife from Master Smith's in New York City. It's a fighting knife. It's got a recurve to it. It's got a point, and it's got a sharpened swedge. So this can cut that direction and that direction. It's got a recurve so that as you're coming into something, it's cutting along and then digging into the material you're trying to go towards. So if you're, it's going to cut even if you're not really trying to cut. But same type of scenario here is your hand is not really that protected. I mean, unless it hits this, plunge line or something like that. There's no like. I'd prefer in this scenario if there was like something kind of sticking down a little bit over here to protect my hand. But this is nice and thick. This is like got a lot of power to it, and it's also hard to get pulled out of your hand because of that shape of that pommel on it. So this might be a good choice. Next choice, I have a cold steel Voyager. This has a bit of a hand guard there. This is really meant to protect your hand from if you're plunging into something. It keeps your hand from sliding up onto the blade, which that would and this won't. So you got some protection that way, so you're not going to hurt yourself if you plunge it into something. Another advantage of this one is that it's big, really big, for a folder, and it has the ability to be held way back here, so you have quite a lot of reach, even more so than that Icon knife, and oddly enough, almost rivaling the length of the machete on a folding knife that you can keep in your pocket. So this would be a really good choice too, I would think. And it's got reasonably thick stock and a sharpened, not sharpened, but like sharp enough of a swedge with that point that kind of comes up a little bit like that you could easily cut somebody going that way in addition to that way. And this is really sharp too. So this would be a very high contender for me. This is like an EDC knife. This would be pretty good because another thing is, as you're going to the battle, if you're walking along and you've got this in your hand, and you got this really long thing hanging down out of your hand as you're approaching the battle scene, they're gonna see you from quite a distance away that you have something. So your element of tactical surprise is non-existent when you have something really, really big. So this kind of knife is actually concealable because it has a sheath that you clip to your belt, and this goes underneath your shirt, and just this much sticks out of the bottom of your shirt when you have this knife in there. I was trying to show it before, and I tried. This is the second video attempt I made of this, but I looked really bad on the video, so I'm not going to show that. But at some point, I'll try to get a still of this being worn. But this is meant to be worn underneath your shirt with the point going up, and just the pommel hanging down. So you just reach underneath your shirt and grab the pommel and pull it out, and all of a sudden you got this huge knife in your hand, and they're totally taken aback by it. This also has the element of surprise because it's a folding knife, and I actually tuck this inside the waistband of my pants, and you can't even see it. Even if I lift up my shirt, just this little bit sticks out, you know. This is in my pocket, totally concealed as well, except for like maybe the clip sticking out, you know. But this has a little bit of an advantage too for a battle, because if you don't have anything showing as you're approaching the battle site, they're gonna, you know, when you're in midst of the battle and you're wrestling with them, even if they're swinging at something like this with you and you can duck it and you like get them into like some kind of a chokehold or a bear hug or something like that, you could throw them to the ground and all of a sudden you whip this out of your pocket and start cutting them up. Like that could be a pretty good way of ending the battle. You know, of course you have to try to get to them while they're swinging something like this at you. It'd be kind of hard. But if you can, then all of a sudden you have the element of surprise that they were totally unexpecting. And then the last knife, this is Uddoss knife. Since he gave the tag, I'm gonna give him the nod. This knife is totally unexpected. It's underneath your shirt, it's razor sharp, and even if as you're wrestling with somebody, if you can get this out from underneath your shirt, you can do a serious amount of damage to somebody. You can cut up their eyes, their face, their throat, anything you want to cut up somebody with. You know, you could even put this in like you could punch somebody while this is in your hand. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of things you could do with something even as tiny as this. And you know, if you went up against somebody in a battle with something like this, you can actually even beat them in some scenarios with this, as opposed to something like this, or even that. So, as a initial response, I'm going to say the Golok, right? But it stands out so far that I think that it's not going to be as effective in a battle. I think because you're nullifying your advantage by having it exposed. You have something that's obvious to somebody. For me, a battle should be something that I'm going to be stealthy at. I'm going to just approach and I'm going to appear unarmed until I get really close, and then I'm going to surprise the hell out of them by coming at them with something like this. So I think this will be option. This will be one knife that I'm going to pick. Would be this Icon. Next knife I think I'm going to pick is going to be the Cold Steel Voyager. So this is knife 1, knife 2, and I think the last knife I'm going to pick is this, because it's going to be a total element of surprise. And then I'm going to rely all on my physical abilities to in the battle, using my body as opposed to the weapon. All right, so that's my response. All right, so that's my 3 knives. Sorry, I just hit the button by mistake. All right, so I'm going to pick the Icon, Cold Steel Voyager, Uddoss. And if I have to pick, now I'm going to pick 3 people to tag. I'm going to pick Randy from Solo's Knife Review. I'm going to pick Nebulax123, Bruce. And I'm going to pick Kylie Harris from CKC Knives to also put a review. I mean, not a review. Which 3 knives they would bring to battle if they had to pick 3 knives.